I thank you very much for this invitation to bring me back to this encounter, to this meeting. I could not imagine 60 years ago that I would come to the Munich University when I was preparing a trip of our Abiturklasse to the Soviet Union, and we were contacting the Ukrainian community in Munich, the Orthodox community in Munich, and my first encounter with Ukraine was here in Munich. I could not imagine that sometime I will be back discussing war against Ukraine, which is taking place now. I thank very much the initiative of these three universities to create a place for reflection, considering what is going on in Europe and in Ukraine. I was deeply moved by the prayer at noon with the three churches, representatives of churches, and we had very insightful and productive discussions and panels in the afternoon. Of course, I take invitations very serious, and I have prepared a speech, a keynote speech. But I have now, after these talks, conversations in the afternoon, the impression that everything has been already said. I have nothing to add to what we had discussed before. It seems to me that everything is clear. My question is, why should we discuss about hybrid war when war is going on? Why should we discuss about truth when it is obvious what is truth? War is going on. And the problem I have is that I do not understand why we should talk about truth. We should talk about why we avoid to talk about reality. About reality, which is very hard to grasp. What is reality? I mean, I have been in the last years and months very often in Ukraine. I know downtown Kharkiv, Odessa, Lviv quite well. And I know, of course, what is going on now. Elderly people in the 10th floor, without electricity, without heating, without the elevator. They are doomed to, hopefully not to die, but this is the situation. And I could not imagine, never, that there will be created a new word for what is going on, Holodomor. Holodomor, that means planned killing by cold, a new type of war crime, in addition to what we know from the 20th century already. So I decided to put aside my speech. I had 2 points, and I will try, on the background of our discussions today, to talk about this. The first is hybrid war. Of course, Europeans, in Germany especially, we didn't know, at least my generation, what is war. We had to learn in the last years what is war. And my first experience as a post-war man, my first encounter with war was in the spring 2014, being in Donetsk, Kharkiv, Mariupol, Odessa. I never have seen what is war. I knew war from TV, from Vietnam, etc., etc. But to see pictures is different from encountering reality, war and reality. And we in Europe, in Germany especially, have to learn what is war and what is hybrid war. And the experts, the military experts, they are talking now about sabotage, about spying, about surveillance, about activities to destroy the infrastructure in our society. The question for me is, why did we not wake up earlier? And I have to say, when I came back in spring 2014 to Germany, I wanted to ask from military experts what is going on in eastern Ukraine. And I could not get an answer because these people from the military academy, they were even not informed that what is going on in Donetsk or in Slavyansk or in Kharkiv. They were not informed, and the question for me is, why did we not know, and why do we not know now what is going on? I have to say that looking at the reports of our correspondents in Ukraine about the dark nights over Kiev, Kharkiv, etc., I thought that there would be an eruption of solidarity in the German society, that there would be the emergence, coming to the open, the network of solidarity, assistance, help, which has grown up in the last decade. I was waiting for the voice of our political responsible personnel. I was waiting for a talk or a speech of the mayor of Berlin, the twin city of Kiev. I think even that Munich is a twin city of Kiev. And why there was no reaction? Everybody knew what is going on. Everybody felt that we have something to do. And I'm now waiting, yes, that somebody in the higher level, the political responsible personnel, is taking the initiative to bring something into action, and the Germans have some experience. They have the experience of the support for Poland in the 80s. They had experience even in the 90s, and I remember just Chancellor Kohl, when he made a speech in the early 90s, the Germans should help to avoid the famine in Russia, in post-Soviet Russia. That was a speech, you can find it, you can Google it. And I'm waiting now for a speech of this kind, that the initiatives which exist in Germany, that they make a coordinated initiative, and everywhere in Munich, in Nuremberg, in Frankfurt, in Freiburg, the twin city of Chernovtsi, everywhere there are initiatives, and they should show now, maybe next week, the anniversary of the full invasion of Ukraine. They should show that they stand by Ukraine. There should be maybe the flags on the townhouses, but especially forms of support, financial, material, etc. So the points I would like, but that it did not happen, shows that the society has a feeling what is going on, but they don't know how to react. It is a feeling of helplessness in a moment where action is decisive. And of course, I'm not only an activist, I'm a historian, and I know that we have to work in the public sphere, and I'm doing as far as I can do it. But there are moments decisive moments, when everything depends, and the people in the apartments in Kiev, Kharkiv, etc., in this moment, they have to fight to endure and to persevere this hard situation, which we even cannot imagine. So, yes, we have to intervene in the public sphere to mobilize the people who feel a deep solidarity, but who don't know how to act. And we have to go on to fight and to cope with a new situation. And I would say one thing which is destabilizing or disintegrating or even undermining solidarity is that we do not have an up-to-date knowledge and understanding of what Russia is and what Russian propaganda is. And I have to say, I do not understand what is going on there. I have still contacts with my friends, colleagues, most now in exile. But to understand what it is, I have only the category or term Putinism. But we have to find the proper description and analysis. And we are not up to date, I would say. We have categories, new Tsardom, we have mafia, we have fascism, we have imperialism. We have to find the proper terms to understand what is going on. This country and the leadership of this country organizing this barbaric war against the Ukrainian neighbor. Sometimes I think we have to reread and study the classics of the 30s. That means people like, of course, Hannah Arendt, Dual State, the classics of analysis of National Socialism and fascism. But we are now challenged to find our language for what Russia is. And I have the feeling that we are still not up to date what kind of enemy we are confronted with. There is a new type of propaganda. Everything has been said about it. I would say Peter Pomerantsev 10 years ago in his book, Nothing is True and Everything is Possible. This is the diffusion and the erosion of the clear distinction between truth and lie. And we had this discussed this afternoon. I would say, yes, this is a moment of postmodern relativism, and the professionals of the Russian propaganda, they are really hardworking, and they are doing something quite different from Soviet propaganda, which is from former times, which doesn't work anymore, which is not the language of the enemy of today. And so we have to analyze the rhetoric, the semantics, even the body language, maybe, of the dictator and his entourage. And my idea was that the German audience should one evening spend looking Channel 1 Russian TV to understand what is the original sound in which the Russian mass media are discussing about Ukraine, about Europe, about Germany. This mixture of dirty, obscene language, we should listen to this sound of hate speech. And in Germany, I think we would call it, this is the sound of fascio. But there's another sound, and I would say the face and the voice of the master is another person. This is Dmitry Peskov. I am quoting him not because I'm quoting him because he is the representative of lie as the new normal. He is able to talk to international press conferences and bringing the disastrous reality into the language of ordinary news and creating a new speech of eliminating reality and telling in a very smart way, in a very soft way about barbaric warfare. We have to learn how the enemy is talking. The third point I would like to make is we have to talk about the vulnerability of our societies. The Russian think tanks, the environment, the presidential administration, they know they are real enlightened. They know what is going on in Europe, in the United States, in Germany. And they have the analysis, where are the frictures, the divisions, the conflicts which can be fueled to disorganize, to destabilize, which sentiments can be used as a tool for destabilization. And they are using the public space, they are using the instruments of an open society we are to destroy and to undermine our society. And I think academia, public intellectuals, all these who are thinking about. They have to take up the fight for getting information to spread the real information about reality, and they have to counter the narratives which are spread out. And it's not only sabotage or infrastructure, it is the struggle and the fight for the mind of the people. And in my view, I have to say it is quite open how the conflict will end. I was surprised and about the initiative and how generous Germans were in the moment when the Russian army invaded Ukraine, when the refugees, hundreds of thousands of people came to Germany, and the generosity with which we helped. I hope now that there will be a new takeoff, and it is not evading, it's not avoiding the intellectual confrontation, the analysis, etc. But in this moment, in the moment of Holodomor, of devastating consequences for the population, especially in the big cities, it is necessary to do something. Here, around this meeting, around the security conference, and maybe the mayors of Munich, of Berlin, of Frankfurt, they can take up their voice and to find the support. People are ready for this. So I'm coming to an end. I would say, I would hope that there is a Munich momentum, a Munich moment 2026 to erase another Munich moment. You know what I mean. There is a Munich moment in 1938, the surrender to the enemy. And I would hope that here and in the next neighborhood, in the security conference, the people assembled are ready to make a Ukrainian moment 26. Yes, that's all what I want to say. I apologize for this. It sounds improvised. I tried to say what I wanted to say, and I thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best.